Welcome back, everybody, into Bill's Chat. I am Josh McCarty. With me tonight, as always, is Luca. Luca, I think for the first time in the history of Bill's Chat, we are recording during a Bills, for the folks on YouTube, game. How you doing tonight?
Doing good. I'm glad we're recording because I wouldn't be taking part of viewing this game in the first place if we were not recording. I'll just start there. And it does feel like a first. It definitely is a first. And this is just so I would just say for anyone that's watching us, you'll see our eyes shooting up a lot. And that's
Mhm.
because, of course, we're gluttons for whatever you want to call this. And we're just going to be still paying attention just to see if anything pops off. We're going to hope a highlight happens, honestly, just to make this entertaining and worth our while. But overall, tonight has become a great reminder for anyone out there on just how meaningless preseason football truly is. When you saw, you know, the first team offense for the Bears trot out there, which is great. It's a home preseason game for them. There's been a little bit of a situation with Caleb and Ben Johnson and getting on the same page, this and that. We've heard it all if you pay attention to the NFL landscape that they need to mesh a little bit. So it's understandable that all of a sudden Ben Johnson's like, you know what, you guys are going to get a couple drives at home to figure this the F out, especially you, Caleb. And then they go up and line up against there were Cole Bishop and DeMar Hamlin out there in the secondary at safety, but in front of them you had starting reps from Brandon Codrington, fake Tremaine Edmonds, Joe Andreessen, whatever defensive lineman they felt like putting out there at the time for whatever snap. It's like, okay, there's levels to this. You have a starting offense versus the 2.5s. I don't know. I mean, you got the safeties, but outside of that, it's the 2.5s, I would call it. And it's you're watching the play and it's like, I don't know what I'm seeing here. And that should be the reaction to it because ultimately none of this means anything. And why McDermott would even attempt to show anything would make no sense. And there's acres of space for a first team offense to operate like a first team offense. So other than that, Josh, I'm doing great. And I'm really enjoying that we're able to at least sit down and record and have a conversation about Bills football while this game is taking place so that we don't have to just have our sole focus on this as you message me putting us to sleep tonight and then maybe we wouldn't even been able to get to recording.
So just for those that are wondering, like we have watched the first quarter and a half. We're starting to record here with about 9 minutes to go in the second quarter. The Bills are down 21-0. We are going to talk about some things that have happened in this game tonight that we believe are noteworthy. Almost none of it has to do with actual plays that have happened. Um, but Luca and we were talking off the air, Luca. This draft really did not set up this preseason to be entertaining. And what I mean by that is the Bills, they're obviously an established team with an established quarterback. So they don't have a situation like the Giants where they have Jackson Dart or the Browns where they have Dylan Gabriel or Shador Sanders, where you can get really excited about seeing how your young quarterback performs. Even the Dolphins have a guy like Quinn Ewers, who they took in the seventh round, who at least you get to the fourth quarter, you're like, this is new. The Bills don't have that. They have Mike White, Mitch Trubisky, and Shane Buechele out there. And there was just no skill position player um, at all that's going to be playing that was taken in this draft class. You had Max Harrison, who would have been fun to track in preseason, obviously. Unfortunately, he's not playing. And the rest of it is linemen. And linemen are fun, but who's the last person that just sat down and watched a game wanting to watch linemen play? So I think the sizzle for this preseason was lacking to begin with. I think I give McDermott credit for not caring about the optics of sitting Josh Allen in this situation. He didn't play any of the starters tonight besides Cole Bishop. We'll talk about Cole Bishop here in a second. But Luca, this was just one of those preseasons that even more than most were just setting up to be a snooze fest. And boy, is it delivered.
Yeah, when you go heavy defensive line, when you do the draft that you do for the Bills, you don't have those flashy, fun toys to spectate and watch. And even like last year, as mentioned, where you had Keon Coleman, who would at least get some reps and you would have a fun toy there. You'd have the Ray Davis flashes in there and getting reps in preseason. You're like, oh, who's this guy? Can he do anything for us after drafting him in the fourth, fifth, whatever round? Wherever you're drafting these positional players to on the offense and whatever it is, Like, what you're not going to get any of that because defensive line, you can be a junkie, you could be a degenerate and really be paying attention to it and have fun doing it, but it's not going to be entertaining in the sense of what a true new toy would look like out there. So with that all said, it was set up to just be one where let's just all get through this healthy. Don't take anything you're seeing for granted of this is great, this is not great. At the end of the day, you're just evaluating these players for little brief moments potentially and just how they're setting up. Are they understanding what's going on? Stuff like that. And you have to just trust that Bean, McDermott, and all of those guys understand what they're seeing on the tape rather than us as fans. Like, what we're seeing truly doesn't matter. When I'm seeing Brandon Codrington lose his man play after play after play, I couldn't care less. Like, we're not asking Brandon Codrington ever to play a meaningful rep at corner. So who gives a flying F if this is happening right now, week 2 of preseason in Chicago? It's going to happen. Any meaningful player in the world will do this. And that's what honestly, just take the entertainment in watching that and being like, yeah, I sure as hell do not want to see 29 ever out on the field when a game matters for the Buffalo Bills. If that is Brandon Codrington, obviously, if he doesn't make the roster and someone else takes the number, things change. But yeah, it's you draft the way you do. You don't have any fun toys to look at and have fun with. Even like you said, a late round flyer where you drafted a quarterback just because, and it's like, oh, let's see what happens with this guy. He might not even make the roster, but at least it's something that's entertaining. It's a name you knew of, and if you watch college football, whatever it is. So yeah, that's just the reality of this preseason, and I'm okay with this though. Let me just preface this because as a avid, I could not care less about preseason. I try not to watch preseason games. I mean, another team that I like watching all the time regularly, the Cardinals, I haven't watched one snap of in the preseason. I don't need to see it. I don't care. Like the Bills, I'm watching it a little bit more because there is at least some aspect of my life that needs to understand what the hell's going on. But once week 1 comes around, that's when I'll actually start paying attention, getting in the thick of it, all that kind of stuff. I just need to know who's healthy, who got hurt, and then how are we moving forward with who's making the roster. That's it.
While you were talking about Brandon Codrington, he was in at nickel corner. He's been at corner all game long, and he was in the box, and he looks like he's about my size. And he got just flattened by an offensive lineman, which would happen to me. I would not try to do it, and it was kind of hilarious. But I think there are 2 players, Luka, that really stand out to me as far as meaningful things to take away from this game. Brandon Codrington, who you mentioned, and Cole Bishop. Let's start with Cole Bishop. We know the story with him. He was drafted in the 2nd round last year. He got injured during training camp last year, and that led to Damar Hamlin and Taylor Rapp being the primary starters at safety. And Cole Bishop really only started a couple of games when Taylor Rapp was injured and came into camp this year. And it sure felt like everything was lining up for Cole Bishop to be the starter. Well, last week, McDermott had some cryptic words about Cole Bishop saying he's running out of time for his development. He's missing time. And a lot of Bills fans panicked. And you and I even brought it up before McDermott said it. McDermott, those are words, but we've seen this before with McDermott. Terrell Bernard before he had any meaningful snaps on the field. Christian Benford when he had a rookie season that was up and down. McDermott, despite them missing time in training camp, made them the starters because guys like Dane Jackson, Kyer Elam for Benford, and then a guy like Tyrell Dodson in the case of Terrell Bernard had enough game tape to let McDermott know where their ceiling was, and it wasn't high enough to be as productive as he wanted to be. So he went behind the mystery door with the guys like Christian Benford and Terrell Bernard, and the Bills have now 2 of their best defensive players on the entire roster. So fast forward to what's going on with Cole Bishop. Everything that happened tonight in the Bears game tells me that Cole Bishop is still the preferred starter opposite Taylor Rapp. He came in, he was the only starter on defense to be out there, and he played 2 series and he got out of the game. And the fact that he played in the game, but then got out 2 series after it started and Damar Hamlin was still in there tells you that they're protecting him. They wanted to get him some live reps, but they're protecting him. Not a surprise to me, not a surprise to you. This is still very, very, very much Cole Bishop's job to lose. and it feels like he would have to do a lot to lose it.
It perfectly said. When you see both of them out there to start the game, it's like, okay, you're seeing both of them get live reps together, figure this out, see what's happening. As I talked about earlier, when you have everything that they had in front of them, it's it's hard to find success when the things that you need to depend on around you on the defense is subpar, lackluster, especially in coverage, being the linebackers primarily. I mean, these linebackers that are in there and playing all of these snaps are really kind of a move forward kind of individual, not a worry about the things behind them kind of person. So it's tough. Life is tough. So really it comes down to, you can understand who is preferred to be depended on and available come week one based on who do we not want to put at risk first. And when you see DeMar Hamlin continuing to play after Cole Bishop comes out, that feels like an indication of who they truly want to maintain the health of and make sure they're okay moving forward for potentially being that guy week one. That is the letter of the law of how that feels. I don't think there's anything else to it. If anyone out there wants to try to say that it's because he got burnt on that first touchdown or whatever it is, you are just, I don't know what you're thinking when it comes to how you evaluate preseason football. That's just not how it works. I don't, coaching staff would not think of it that way. No one is thinking of it that way. It's truly about availability and being there for when the games actually matter. And if Cole Bishop's coming out first, he still appears to be the man in line to be that starter come Sunday night against the Ravens week one. That's just the reality.
And he will be unless he gets hurt. And I think what the Bills want to get back to is a lot of what they did with Hyde and Poyer, where you have interchangeable safeties that you can bring down, you can put back, you can change the picture post snap. They were doing some of that early in camp with Bishop and Rapp, and then both of those guys got hurt. I would expect that to be the starting pair week one when they play against Baltimore. The other guy I wanted to mention, Luca, was Brandon Codrington, because one of the low key battles on this roster is kick returner slash not rostering a kick returner and letting somebody that does multiple things handle that role to basically expand your roster. And what we saw a lot of tonight, we are still seeing it here in the late second quarter. Brandon Codrington on the field on defense. I don't think anybody would argue against Brandon Codrington being the best kick returner slash punt returner on this roster. He was very good last year at that role. There's reason to believe that with some of the rule changes, the penalties for touchbacks, that you will see more of an impact on kickoff returns this season. But I think what the Bills are trying to weigh is that impact enough to roster somebody that literally gives you nothing else on game day? So what they're trying to do is find out, Brandon Codrington, are you somebody that could get us out of a game at nickel corner or boundary corner if injuries happen? Sure, there's the scenario like we saw last year in Indianapolis, Luca, where you were at the game. The game got out of hand, and the Bills put Codrington in because it doesn't matter at this point. And when Alex Pierce scores a touchdown on him, we all just kind of laugh it off. But the very realistic scenario of only being able to dress 46 guys on game day is there could be a couple of cornerback injuries early in the game. And now this guy that you picked to be your primary kick returner has to go in and cover Jalen Waddle for the next 3 quarters, or cover Tyreek Hill, or cover Stephon Diggs, and cover Garrett Wilson. And that's the situation where you don't want to look back and kick yourself like, why didn't we keep Daquan Hardy? Why didn't we keep Corey Couch? Why didn't we keep somebody that could have helped us? Why didn't we keep Tyrell Shavers, a wide receiver that can help us on the back end of the roster? Something like that, that the Bills have to weigh as the roster construction continues to happen. I don't think we got an answer on Codrington tonight, but it's very obvious to my eyes, Luca, that they are giving him every opportunity to prove that he can bring more to the table than kick returning.
The opportunity is being presented. That's well said to wrap it up there. It's not pretty. It's going very poorly. But they're giving him a chance to truly show his value to be available for this if he's going to make the team as a returner and be active come game days. I think the other part that's helping him is just no one else is truly standing out as a returner option. So it truly is just becoming like, hey, we do need a returner. That has to happen. You need to present us a reason why you can stand out above the rest. And if you can at least show us you're a somewhat serviceable corner for this, if we need you to be, break glass in case of emergency, you can present that to us. You can be that for us and get us out of a pinch for that week. And then we can reassess the roster and the injury situation, whatever it is, so on and so forth. So the problem I'm having is preseason doesn't matter and this and that. Boy, like I I want to know when the last time this individual played corner for a meaningful rep ever, because it just continues to look like he's absolutely clueless. And has he just been a returner specialist all his life? Potentially. I don't know. I can't exactly say I know the career path of Brandon Codrington, but it's just one of those things where I do like and respect what they're trying to do in the preseason for a Brandon Codrington. It's like, please give us a reason to truly feel better about why you're making this roster as a returner that then is available on game days, because we need you as a returner. But then you also have shown us that if, for God forbid, any reason you need to do something else for us, you can at least do it at some level of ability. And the level of ability that he needs to show is pretty minimal, but also I question if it's even reaching that threshold, which is quite a wild thing to think about, all things considered.
Your guy Luther Burden with a tremendous crackdown block on
Yeah.
Jordan Hancock to spring on the 4th down touchdown run. I will say something about Jordan Hancock. That dude is a dog. I've seen his nose in on several plays, and it's hard to evaluate when you're I mean, so those of you that know football, I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. When you're putting out your second and third stringers against a first team offense, you're already at a seismic offensive versus defensive line mismatch. It is hard to evaluate anybody on the defensive side of the ball when the defensive line is being pushed backwards on every single play. So it is hard to get too excited about any player. But Jordan Hancock, he's aggressive at the point of tackle. He got in there on a couple plays in the backfield, and I love his versatility. One thing that will help a player like Brandon Codrington make this roster are players like Jordan Hancock and Cam Lewis that can play multiple positions. Where if Cam Lewis is active, he's probably going to back up any defensive back position you can think of before they dare put Brandon Codrington on the field. So things like that will help him out. Luther Burden having a good night, both as a blocker and as a receiver. He probably needs it. Things have not been going great for him, as we still are looking at Mike White here trying to lead a 2-minute drill in the second quarter. Minute 44 left. Bills down 28-0. Luka, let's talk about quickly the James Cook contract extension. It felt like maybe that was coming down the pike. There were some signs that maybe the Bills were moving in that direction. It did happen. The money, depending on what reports you want to believe, is there's a bear down. Hopefully, it's not serious. The guaranteed money is a little higher than you'd expect. The initial reported numbers were like 30 million, but that was just agent talk. It sounds like it's a little closer to 20 million. I am very comfortable with the number they gave James Cook. I still maintain he is the second most explosive player on this entire team, with Josh Allen being the first. And I'm comfortable with the money. And one thing that you've said a long time ago that sticks with me, they can afford to do this because they aren't paying for a big time wide receiver. And if you're not going to pay for a big time wide receiver, this is a luxury you can have. I'm glad it's behind the Bills. I didn't need them to do it, but I'm happy it's over with.
The the number is absolutely palatable, right? So I don't know if the spot track numbers are confirmed valid, exactly how it breaks down and everything of such. But overall, it was 28 and change guaranteed over 4 years extension. From there, your cap hit is 5.8 the first year of the extension, 13, 13.5, and 14.2. That seems to be what it is. From there, it feels like a deal that makes James Cook happy, of course, first and foremost, gets him the money that he feels comfortable with. That's why he's on the line. but ultimately too, it's at least one that can be managed by the Bills. And the point you made and kind of what is valid is if you were to look at this offense right now and say, who is the guy that truly can be leaned on in crunch time that isn't Josh Allen's arm and Josh Allen in general, who is next in line? That guy is James Cook right now. Right now, that is him. And that is undeniable. So it also pays really good to get the best out of a running back when you stand next to 17 every snap. Now, would I like James Cook to be standing there every snap? Yeah, I'd like him to stand there more than 44% of snaps. But ultimately, it's one where he is your most dynamic offensive player. He's most explosive offensive player. And when you don't have that at wideout, when you don't have the Diggs when we had Diggs, when you don't have that individual that is the receiver part to get paid like that as such, you can't afford this and everything's fine. What I also do like about the extension is it gets it to his age 30 and it doesn't go a second over that. It doesn't go into this 31st year of age or anything like that. It's one where it wasn't long enough needed that will get into a tail end of his career. Running backs, of course, do not have a long shelf life, but overall, you didn't have to massively overpay for it to be a shorter term. And on top of it, you're going to just get the prime years of James Cook. That is what you're going to get now. And everything can be looked in the past and just move on. And you have that dynamic backfield threat now for 4+ more years because there's this year at his current cap and the way it was. And then the 4 more years, you're going to get that. It's going to be great. You would like to imagine you will have it progress even more. Let's not forget, this is only going into his 4th season. There's still room to grow for him. So overall, you would love to think that those first 2 years, we'll call it, of the extension could be peak James Cook. We could get the absolute best of James Cook at that point. And then it's going to feel like a bargain potentially when he's a cap hit of only, I mean, the first of that extension again is only 5.8, but then even the second year at 13 mil with the expectation of the cap growing, that could be looked at as a bargain. If he has that explosive dynamic ability that he could truly be a top 5 back in the league, it's going to be a hard thing to crack when you have your Jahmyr Gibbs, your Bijan Robinsons out there who are also young dogs in this league that truly are. I mean, spoiler alert, I'm pretty sure Jahmyr Gibbs is going to win Offensive Player of the Year this year. Like that's the standard those guys are putting out there. But ultimately, James Cook has that potential where he can be a true threat 3-down guy. I mean, Bean even said it. He wants him and thinks he can be a 3-down guy. He can be one of those individuals if he can continue to progress and grow while this contract extension is now hitting the books. I have the utmost faith that that is absolutely possible. And until we need money elsewhere, may as well use it on a dynamic back like him.
And you know, Brandon Beane's philosophy is draft, develop, extend. And Cook would have been a hard one to swallow, not extending. Oh my goodness, Mike White. Elijah Moore was just wide open. And the Bills might be benefiting from a roughing the passer penalty. Luca's a little ahead of me here, but yeah, here we go. Here we go, Luca. I did see somebody say that this Mitch Trubisky 28-point second half comeback is going to just hit. That's I don't even know if I'll stick around to see it, honestly. Okay. Conversation on Twitter right now. This says a lot about the Bills' depth. Now, look, the first few drives, it was Bills backups against Bears starters. Hard to read into that. But if you want to really dive into it, and you know, it's preseason football. You and I think we're both going to have the same answer. That was definitely roughing the passer. Holy cow. Um, the Bears' second team offense has gone through the Bills' second team defense like a hot knife through butter as well. So I'm not going to move off of my spot that the Bills are still one of the deepest rosters in football. They have great depth, and cut down day is going to be very challenging for Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott. Is there anything about this game or any maybe position group? You want to say Ryan Vandemark? Is there anything depth wise that after this game you're thinking maybe the Bills aren't quite in as good a shape as we were thinking?
That's linebacker, I guess, would be the way I'd go with that one.
Yeah.
It's just It's so
Buffalo
tough.
Joe.
Yeah, it's so tough to evaluate. It's one of those things where, I mean, yeah, Vandermark is a great call out. Just the offensive line and tackle specific depth. I mean, 94, I think, is Austin Booker. Um, he was just giving Vandermark the business like every snap. It was wild. And that's one. But it's Ryan Vandermark, and I'm not too concerned over that. And also, when it comes to offensive line, I mean, that's a position group truly that you're not trying to rotate. You're not trying to do anything with that. If you're starting to get truly to Ryan Vandermark having to play left tackle for you, you're in some tough situation right there. So linebacker is the one I bring up only because you've had Dorian Williams has been out there. You have Buffalo Joe, who made the roster last year, made the team last year, I should say. These are guys that have already shown they've been on this team, and yet they're still incapable of doing basic. I mean, preseason's basic stuff. McDermott's not doing anything crazy. I'm sure it's a lot of just basic ass shell coverage, whatever, which for a guy like Ben Johnson, probably pretty easy to pick apart if he really wanted to. Feels like he really wanted to. And ultimately, it's just one of those things where it would be nice if those guys understood the assignment a little bit better, where it's just not free acres of space behind them, things of that nature. But again, this isn't Matt Milano in there. This isn't Terrell Bernard in there. These aren't the guys you're going to lean on in those positions. It will just suck yet again that if one of those guys goes down, which both have a track record of going down potentially, you're not going to get start worthy snaps from your depth. And that can be problematic when it's a position group that is shown gets banged up on the regular for this team. I mean, the only linebacker I can remember not getting hurt and at least missing some time in the McDermott era is Tremaine Edmonds. And unfortunately for us, he now is on the roster for the other team in this game tonight. So overall, it's just there's an expectation or maybe just an understanding, I guess is the way to put it, that there could be a time we have to see Dorian Williams getting meaningful snaps. Buffalo Joe has to come in and get some meaningful snaps. And the reality is, if they are coming in and being asked to do anything, you're probably not going to get great reps out of them. You're gonna just have a warm body in a role that everyone else around them just needs to do their job a little bit better to disguise the deficiency that they provide that defensive unit. So, yeah, I think that would be the group I would highlight a little bit more than the rest in a game such as this one.
What's left to learn about this team before the games really count, Luke? It's the middle of August. This episode's coming on August 18th. We're still 3 or 4 weeks away from the opener when the Ravens come to town. That's certainly a tough task. What do we still need to find out? I do think that the Elijah Moore versus does Curtis Samuel even get healthy to make a case for himself versus Tyrell Shavers conversation is going to get louder. Can Max Harrison get back and make a case for himself to be a starting corner by week 1? That seems highly unlikely. And obviously, like, what kind of condition is Tre'Davious White going to be in as far as an every down cornerback? Beyond that, is there anything left to be answered about this team? Because I feel like we kind of know who the players are, and besides Cole Bishop, none of them played tonight.
Yeah, that's exactly that's exactly how we feel. It's it's truly a preseason of going through the motions. I can't remember the last time we as Bills fans went into a preseason and could care as little as this.
Mhm.
I genuinely don't remember that last time it felt like this, I guess is the way to put it. I just don't see the it's get through it. Just let's get to week 1. There's nothing any that's the way to put it. There's nothing anyone of any of these depth pieces could show me that I could care about in the sense of, oh, this could really be something. But then on top of it, holy crap, Brandon Codrington actually just made a play. You'll see that coming up.
Ooh,
I mean, he did his job. Let's put it that way. He did his job, Josh.
I
But
love it.
that's ironically enough, as I'm saying, no one could show me anything. it's it's one of those things where not a player that's dressing up in these games can show me anything that will move the needle at all and make me think, okay, there's something there. Okay, this or that. The only guy I will give that asterisk to is Tyrell Shavers. And I think that's only there because there is that receiver spot or potentially two that is kind of up for grabs. But also, it's just like he's shown us he had that one play last season in the regular season that he made happen. It's not like it's out of nowhere. It's like we've already had a little bit of something in meaningful reps, and the talk has been there for it seems like forever, Josh, that it's like, yeah, Tyrell Shavers can continue to show this. And it's like, okay, he's just not going away. Maybe he just finally needs to crack the roster and do things on a regular basis to truly see if we actually might have something. And I see you probably saw the Codrington thing and everything like that. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Let's break that down for a second. He comes scot-free on a blitz, not against Lamar Jackson, not against,
Dude,
Josh Allen,
dude, Tyson Bagent's a guy, man.
Tyson Bagent, and gets his arms on him and then looks like me trying to bring him down. Like, oh God, please don't go anywhere. And then Bagent throws it away. So yes, he did his job.
I mean, look, he shot in there and he got the quarterback wrapped up. It's the best he can do. What are you going to do?
One guy I wouldn't mind seeing more from in the next game and maybe the rest of this game is Landon Jackson. And I know when the Bills drafted him, he was a bit of a project. He's certainly going to make this team. But I think the challenge for Landon Jackson, at least initially, is going to be convincing the Bills that he deserves a jersey on game day. Because when you look at someone like Javon Solomon, who has much more of a prominent special teams role, AJ Epinesa, Greg Rousseau, and Joey Bosa are going to be your primary three edge rushers. And that fourth defensive end needs to be somebody that can contribute on special teams, unless it's just a player like Shaq Lawson used to play that has like such a defined role of run stopper, edge setter that you can't not keep him active. I haven't seen much from Landon Jackson yet that tells me he's somebody the Bills will sorely miss on game day. I feel like he's the kind of player that maybe we'll see what he's really about 2-3 years from now. You're laughing about something. But I don't know. That's the first name that comes to mind for me. The holding penalty.
No, it's the play after it. It's just classic preseason football, Josh. Oh, I'm so happy that happened while we're recording. Oh my
I'm
God.
excited. Oh, here we go. Back to pass. Fumble. Picked up. Is that Dwayne Carter?
That is Dwayne Carter.
Dwayne Carter with a touchdown. A big boy touchdown.
I don't know if that's a fumble, though. Watching the replay.
It looked every bit like an incomplete pass, but hey.
Yeah. It totally feels like Tyson Bagent is following through and he didn't like what he was seeing. So he just holds onto it for extra long and then it just drops because that and Deion Walker on his non-throwing shoulder just causes it to go out. But I mean, like classic preseason football. Yeah, they did call it incomplete. Okay. It's just such a funny moment that I'm like, what? This game matters, Josh. This game matters.
I think it's interesting that Dorian Williams is still in the game.
Dorian Williams being in this game after it. So on that note, I keep saying fake Tremaine Edmonds, and I don't mean to disrespect him. It's just because I don't actually remember his name yet, but he just ironically went to Virginia Tech, has dreads, and is wearing 49 for the Buffalo Bills. It's just one of those things where it's like, what else do you want me to call him? Because I don't know him enough to know his name at this moment in time. But he was getting snaps, Josh, early on, and now you have Dorian Williams going in there. And I don't think that's nothing, but also at the same time, I don't know how to feel about it because you also have situations where, of course, McDermott started Mike White today instead of Mitch Trubisky, but does anyone out there think Mike White, of course, is now the number 2 magically? No, it's to me a little bit more, not to say to me like for the billionth time, but it feels like this was a preseason game that following the shared practices, everything like that, where I'm sure more meaningful things were honestly happening, Josh, than what we're seeing here. There was a mix of individuals that McDermott probably wanted to see. And also, as he's been preaching, I believe it was predetermined, of course, even going into preseason week 1, that Mike White would in turn then get the start come week 2 preseason, as they wanted the backup role to be a true battle. So you have those dynamics happening in the preseason all at once, where it's like, well, we've seen a lot of this. Let's now try this. And, or we've seen a lot of this. We liked what we were seeing in practice reps or, joint practice reps. Let's now see it in game action as best as you can. Things of that nature. That's what it feels like is happening here. So I don't think it's necessarily a fact that it's like, oh, Dorian Williams has now lost his backup role all of a sudden, things like that. It's like, no, I think this could potentially be more of something essentially where we're now seeing, they wanted to see how this individual would look against the ones or early on, and then we'll go to Dorian Williams, which is someone that we know of a little bit more, because Joe Andreessen's still in there, and it's just, you just matched him up with a different guy. That's all you're doing here. So it is noteworthy, though. It's just something. It'll be interesting to track that. You know what? That's the way to put it, Josh. That will be something interesting to track, especially since I said something I would love to see a little bit more out of is these linebackers, because the depth does not feel to be as okay as it felt maybe before the preseason began.
Well, the Bills, interesting scenario playing out. Interesting. At the end of the half, the Bears decided to go. I think they spiked it, not knowing what down it was, because all of a sudden it brought up 4th and 7 from midfield with 10 seconds left, and the Bills then get a sack, which I don't know what this penalty is. Should put the Bills.
It's a bunch of stuff on the offense.
So that should put the Bills in position, if they want to try a very long field goal with a kicker they currently don't have. But you know, who knows? Situational football, not exactly a staple of preseason. But Luka, as this first half wraps up, we are going to wrap this show up. Any final thoughts here on week 2 of preseason? Anything we've learned? We do have the James Cook extension we talked about. We haven't heard anything more on Max Harrison or Khalil Shakir coming back from their injury. Curtis Samuel still needs to find a way to get out there to, I guess, warrant a roster spot. The Dolphins are falling apart at the seams. They lost Devon Achane, and he's iffy for opening day now. They lost Zach Seiler. He's iffy for opening day now. So that team just has terrible vibes. The Bills are going for a monster field goal. We are certainly going to stay on for this bad boy. You're probably way ahead of me here, so you want to let me know how far it misses?
I actually even missed the field goal being kicked. I
Okay,
genuinely did. I looked away for a hot second. All of a sudden, I see them going into going into the locker room, and they. Let me just put it this.
it's a
You know what?
56-yard attempt. This is a great opportunity for this kicker.
While you're watching,
it was a great opportunity as he kicks it wide, right?
Yeah, there we go. So to get on that soapbox right now, as I started with last week, why we are watching a preseason game on a Sunday night is blowing my mind. On top of it all, Fox has decided to do this, and Fox is broadcasting this, of course. Let me just add to this. I don't know if this is the end of episodes is about to develop itself into a grind my gears style segment here, Josh, but it feels like it, because holy shit, Fox, figure the score bug out. This is, you presented what you thought would be the good one during the Super Bowl, like everyone does, and that was a pile of crap. Well, then you edit it a little bit, and now you have logos in there, and it's like, oh, look, we got logos. It is still a heaping pile of shit. And it is incredibly dumb looking how it presents itself, where it's just, you know what it feels like, Josh? When you watch the old highlights and they would just put up the generic like font overlaying the broadcast just in the upper corner back in the day when that was revolutionary in its own right, you'd have the score and the time. It feels like they just reverted back to something like that. It's like, we just want to passively have numbers and letters on your screen as we then broadcast the full image, because that's all we're capable of doing. And it just looks so cheap and is actually even difficult at times to just track. So the nice part about score bugs is visually, it's easy to grab, go to, understand, evaluate, assess, and then get back to the action. Whereas somehow Fox has figured out a way that makes it awful, and dependent on what is behind it, on how easy it is to process that information. That's why you're making work out of this. Blows my mind. Why you're doing this in 2025 when there's so many resources available to you, and people have done things so well. I miss the classic little one that they used to put the Christmas lights around up in the left corner there. Like all of those simple score bugs that were so damn good. Or the old school one, Josh, where it was just like the PHI, or if it was Buffalo, it'd be obviously BUF and just blue, look like clock lettering, just that clock block lettering. Simple, easy to read, doesn't take up too much of the screen. Anyone that sits here and looks at a score bug and goes, that's taking up too much of the screen. I actually feel that that's the way it is now because it's just random letters and numbers on the screen, dead middle, bottom of the screen. It just looks terrible. It looks awful. It's brutal. And Fox doing two things to us simultaneously here, Josh, making us watch a preseason game on a Sunday night. And on top of it all, presenting us with the worst score bug in the modern history of the NFL truly makes me hate them with a fiery passion right now that I really, really hope that they have assessed this and they change it once again going into the regular season because this just isn't it. That's what I'll finish this episode with.
Well, we live in an era of red zone where so many people digest NFL football. I mean, you and I, we're spoiled. We have 6 TVs at once. We're watching all the games. We're following all the games, including like the Bills game. So many people, though, get the red zone experience, and maybe they aren't even listening to Scott Hansen. They're just watching their screen. So all of a sudden, you're watching Steelers, Ravens, and they kick it over to Raiders, Chiefs. And what you want to be able to do when you're watching a 10-second play of Raiders, Chiefs is what's the score? What's the situation? Boom. Now I can see who has the ball, what needs to happen here. If you're looking all over for the score and then you're trying to figure out like it's not visually appealing, it's not what your eyes tell you to, you've ruined that experience. They're overthinking a very simple experience. And, with the amount of gambling that goes on, the score matters for so many people, fantasy matters for so many people. Like you want to know the situation. And yeah, Fox needs to be better than that because they were, I'll show my age here. They were the originator back in the early 90s of putting the score on the TV all game long. If you go back and watch like even some of the early 90s Bills games, like Jim Kelly, those games when they were going to the Super Bowl, you can watch for like 10 minutes straight without the score being on the screen, without the down and distance being on the screen. And if the announcers are not updating you on all that stuff, you have no idea what the score is, what you're just watching a game. It's amazing that that's how it was, but I'm with you. That was a good little that was maybe the most interesting thing we talked about tonight. Uh, the last thing I'll say about this, I understand the Bills are a fishbowl team. The Chiefs are a fishbowl team. Everybody wants to watch them, but for preseason football, if you're going to put a game on Sunday night at 8 o'clock at night, let's be a little bit smarter. Pick a team like the Browns that has a true quarterback competition going on. And even though you didn't know ahead of time that Shador Sanders would be out, that gives you people would tune in to watch Shador Sanders. Pick a team like the Titans. Like people would tune in to watch Cam Ward. Pick the Jaguars. They tune in to watch Travis Hunter, even though he didn't play. Find those situations where Daniel Jones versus Anthony Richardson, find those storylines that people can really sink their teeth into because unless you are just the diehard Bears fan or diehard Bills fan or just an NFL fan that is so desperate for football that you want to watch Mitch Trubisky go out there in the second half and throw the ball to I have no idea, then you're turning this game off. And it feels like a miss by everybody involved, Luca.
Yeah, 1000%. I don't understand how you wouldn't look at it. So you have a Sunday night game like we're watching right now that is Bills Bears, and it's like, okay, Caleb Williams and new coach Ben Johnson. You can sell people on that. That's an understandable one. But the Bills have shown for years and years under McDermott, they're not playing starters. We very well established what's going on. They're not playing starters, so on and so forth. That's the reality of it. Then on Monday, Josh, you have the Bengals and the Commies. Two more teams, very well established in what they're trying to do. Although I do think the Bengals are playing starters. I think mind blowing to me.
Probably not Hendrickson.
Well, Well, yeah, we spoiler alert, probably not Hendrickson when you're now officially looking to shop him. Um, you're doing that in reality. The Washington is probably they're maybe going to do one drive with Jaden Daniels, but again, very well established in what they're trying to do. You're not going to see a lot of meaningful stuff when you're doing that. These slots, if you're going to try to force feed this to NFL fans or to just the casuals or whatever you want to call it, make it for the if you're a top 8 pick in the draft and you get matched up against another team that's interesting, there you go. Perfect. You're great.
Mhm.
As you said, if you all of a sudden have Giants and I mean, just for pure example's sake, if you have Giants and Titans lined up in the preseason, put that on a primetime slot. If you
Mhm.
have, I mean, even Giants Jets, you can
Mhm.
just probably always do that one just because
That
also you have the Giants Jets dynamic in itself,
that
which is
should have been
plenty.
this spot. You have the entire New York market, you have Jackson Dart, you have interesting teams from
Yeah.
preseason.
It's, I mean, and then you know what you can do too when a game gets boring, Josh, you just start showing the Victor Cruz highlights because that's basically the
Mhm.
Victor Cruz game every year when it happens. It's you can do things like that. When you have this game though, and you're really like, you know what infuriates me too about these games, and they do it every game, and that's fine and dandy, but Fox has their national team doing this, and then they're trying to sideline interview Josh Allen. And immediately they're talking to him about, you know, his wife and stuff like that. And it's like, that's how you know this game doesn't mean shit.
Right.
You have the president of the Bears in the box talking about their new stadium stuff, which the Bills did on the CBS broadcast, mind you, last week. So you now have the president of the Bears in the box talking about the new stadium and trying to sell people on what's going to be coming with that and so on and so forth as active plays happening. And then you're trying to talk to Josh Allen, the current MVP of the league, and ask him, hey, how's the wife? How do you feel? You know, she supports you through all this, things like that. Again, while play is happening. And it's just like, you're just going through the motions for the sake of doing it. And it's, why are you making individuals care about something at all at this hour of the day? This is a
Yeah.
game that could have, what was also funny is I realized it too, was at a fantasy draft. Josh, this is how bad it was. I was at a fantasy draft for a league that I'm not even in. I have a lot of friends. I used to be in that league for years and years, but I went to hang out with the guys while they were doing their fantasy draft. And at one point someone asked, hey, is there, you know, is there no football on right now? And it was like, no, because we had a game scheduled at 1 and then Fox had their game scheduled at 8. Why is that not in the 4 o'clock slot that Fox loves so much? What? Again, just another point of what are we doing here?
Yeah.
What are we doing here? It just, so many things with preseason just make no sense to me. And it's what makes it so much easier for me when it's like, I don't need to watch this. I don't need to care about this. These things don't matter. And all it's going to do is infuriate the fans that are watching it when you see Cole Bishop get roasted a little bit for a touchdown. And they're like, oh, Cole Bishop's just not doing it for me. It's like, context matters, people. There were acres of space awarded in front of him. And then they're just trying to scramble to make something happen out of the shit pile that was given to them by everyone else around. And next thing you know, you got DeMar Hamlin and Cole Bishop tripping up on each other. And yeah, the guy just got free he's a starter or, you know, a rotational receiver with the starting quarterback who picked that apart. Like, that's the crap you get in preseason.
Mhm.
That's just not how this works. So I don't know, man. Like, preseason just drives me insane. Let me just put it this way too. It's a necessary thing. You need to go through this stuff. I've never really been a massive fan of the idea of like, just get rid of it altogether. I am okay with them going down to 2 games to make it 18 games with 2 buys and all of that stuff that's pitched. Like, it does feel like there's some value in it to just at least try to warm up the motions a little bit, but acknowledge it for what it is. You are just going through the motions. You are just, Josh Allen's out there in pads because he's just trying to get himself into the game day motions of what he does on game days. You know, he's just doing the things with his team and what he needs to do individually and getting back in the swing of things. You know, if you're off of work for 3 months, you need to kind of shake off the rust a little bit and get back through the motions to get yourself ready for game days. And that is fine, but acknowledge it for what it is. It is nothing more than that. And don't make it feel like it's okay that hey, you know what? Let's have Bills and Bears fans watch their game at 8 o'clock at night for no good fucking reason. Oh, well, it slipped. Oh well, no good reason whatsoever. Like, and then also put on a shit product. Like, it's just preseason football's the worst, Josh. It's the best because that means real football's around the corner, but it's the worst.
A lot of fans are mad at Cole Bishop right now, Luca, but the first down and 10, Ravens have the ball, hand off to Derrick Henry. Cole Bishop tackles him for a 2-yard gain, and everybody loves him again, and everybody forgets about preseason, and none of this is going to matter. What will matter is Luca and I will be back next week on Bills Chat. We will have the final preseason game in the books. The Bills play against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I would not expect Josh Allen to play very long in that game either. I wouldn't expect to see Baker Mayfield for too long. But that'll be it for the preseason. It sure looks like the Bills are going to fall to 0-2, barring some Mitch Trubisky magic here tonight. But at the end of the day, none of it matters. Nobody got hurt tonight. That is the big win. Look no further than the Dolphins, who lost 2 important starters in their game yesterday. You don't want to be the team that loses a player in meaningless football. The Bills avoided that by being careful. And as the third quarter gets underway, Luca, we are going to say goodbye. For Luca, I am Josh McCarty. We will talk to you next week on Bills Chat.